Do you want to relax? Are you having trouble sleeping or focusing? CBD reduces anxiety, chronic pain, seizures, PTSD, depression. Try our CBD gummies or chocolates. You will be very satisfied. Visit cbdcollections.net. 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 Hello, everyone. It's that time again. As always, we interview Jamaicans around the world, giving really positive energy to our community. And I'm sure you've all seen him. And if you haven't, then I suggest you get on Instagram and learn about Raúl Blaze. He is a multifaceted ambassador of Jamaica and a citizen of the world. He really is. Gifted with a great combination of creative skills, he has been able to engage other cultures to build common ground of shared humanity while practicing serial career choices. You know, as Jamaicans, we always have to do a bunch of little things. Lean in, folks, and listen to the most talented man and be inspired in our own great possibilities. So, to do the interview is my co host, Chris. Chris, take it away.
Thanks to Denise and welcome, Raul.
Thank you for having me, guys.
It's great to have you here. We want to get to know you a little first and your background that people may not know. You know, they may see the finished product, but it's been a journey. So,
Yes.
want to know a little about your Jamaican roots, where you hail from, and what are some of the situations that may have shaped your life viewpoints that you kind of say, yes, these really shaped me.
Oh, thank you for that question. I am a proud son of Smithville, Clarendon. For those who don't know, Clarendon, foreigners, Clarendon is in central Jamaica, and I'm from the northwestern side. My community, Smithville, is in the Mucko Mountain Range. I'm the Jonker Mountain, I believe. I need to check my geography. And I grew up as a country boy with my grandparents and my mother, and living in Smithville, Clarendon. I always wondered what was beyond the hills and and the valleys of Smithville, and that kind of piqued my curiosity. And I told myself that one day I would love to see the world, and it's this humility of being from the ground and from rural Jamaica that set me on my path to both seek what was out there in the world, to educate people about where I'm from, and to push me to go beyond my very, very humble roots.
That's fantastic. But you must have had some really good, proud assets that you want to share with the world. What are some of the fascinating things that you did as a child that you kind of, that you think helped formalize the breadth of who you are?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I went to three different primary schools, right? I went to Thompsontown Primary School and Smithville Primary School, but then I went to Maypen Primary School, which is more in the town part. But regarding the interesting things in my life, so my grandfather, I'm from a farming community, so on Saturdays I used to go to bush with my grandfather, and my grandfather plant all orange key. And as a matter of fact, my grandfather's nickname is Mas Pum Pum because he was a farmer of yams, and one of the yams was the Pum Pum yam. And so when I was growing up in Smithville, people call me, no matter where I go in the world, some people still remember me as Mas Pum Pum grandson. Apart from going to the farm, going to bush, I grew up be at a river when water gone, and at the river got be with your friend them. And I also I grew up, but my father wasn't really a part of my life that much, even though his family was close by. So I had an interesting experience of the need to belong and the need to be loved. So a combination of enjoying living in rural Clarendon, and going River go be it mixed with a little bit of
Yeah.
the sadness of that need to be loved and find out who I am. These were some very interesting aspects of my life that that came together to make me be the person who I am today.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you clearly, from what you're doing today, you're such a multifaceted person. Lots of
Yes.
creativity that we see there. Your grandfather took you to Bush, and are there other people that help shape and nurture the creativity that you have?
Yes, my mom. My mom is the most influential person in my life. Along with my grandmother, but my mom and my brothers shaped who I am. It was just us all the time. When time was hard, and it was just us going through the difficulties of life. I didn't grow up with I grew up very humble, and people who may see me now, they may not know unless they've seen a video where I've spoken about how humble I grew up. But apart from my mom, regarding my being the language person I am, I have to give a shout out to Senorita Lindsay. She passed away recently in this year, and she taught my mom in high school, and she ended up teaching me. And she kind of saw, even though I was a very mischievous person in Spanish class, she was a person who realized my gift of learning languages. I was, in hindsight, it was language then because it was just Spanish, but her steadfastness and discipline towards me and telling me be quiet and listen. She understood my potential in Spanish, and I took that potential, and then later on I added different languages. So my mother and my uncle and some other people, but in the academic sphere, the language sphere, I want to pick up my Spanish teacher from high school.
That's real. So you start with Spanish, but then you add in the other language. So where did you go to get all of this? You have a gift for language, but you have to get some learning. How did you go about expanding your language acquisition?
I went to the Glenmuir High School, and everyone knows Glenmuir. I wouldn't say lucky. I was, as a child, I was in later on in life it faded out, but I was a very, very brilliant child, and I passed my common entrance to go to Glenmuir High School. And some schools in Jamaica, as you know, have a French program and a Spanish program.
Yeah.
Glenmuir only had a Spanish program. But when I left, and Spanish always came back as a thing I did, because even when I fail other subjects, for example, when it comes to literature and certain subjects, I didn't even though now I've become a writer, I didn't do well in lit in high school because I didn't have the books for literature. But Spanish, even when I'm absent from school for like 2 days or whatever, I come back and I get one of the highest grades. When I got to UWI, I was a Spanish major, and I realized that there were people leaving my class to go to French classes. I couldn't do the same French that they were doing because they would have been doing minors and majors. So I started the beginner French course at UWI, and after a year, I because I couldn't do the French that they were doing, I did beginner French, and I joined the French club, and I became the vice president of the French club without being a major or minor in French. And in my last year of UWI, when you want to look at prerequisites to build up your GPA, Portuguese was being introduced, and I picked up Portuguese. And then, of course, later on, long after that, I went to Japan, and I lived 4 years in Japan, and that's how the Japanese came in.
That's incredible. So, you have a really good support system to your mom and other folks and your teachers, and they recognize, and you recognize that you're very gifted.
Yeah.
And you could have gone in different direction. How did you determine what your first? It seemed like you've done stuff somewhat serially. How do you determine where your launching pad would be?
Uh, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to. I think I wanted to be a diplomat because it just sounded cool when I was in college.
Okay.
But unfortunately, in other countries and in Jamaica, of course, um, um, nepotism and links run things, right? Even though when I left UWI, I was speaking many languages and I did a degree in Spanish, etc. I knew it would have been hard for me to get my job, so I was just going with the flow. In my last year of the UWI, I would say my final year. I didn't know what I was gonna do when I left UWI because my mother wasn't living there, so I didn't have anywhere to live per se. But I wanted to continue in my path, so I tried outside and I applied for the IDB, in DC. I applied to their internship program. I said, like a joke, because why would the IDB or the World Bank or anything pick me? I'm just a regular guy in UWI. And just when I was about to pack my things and leave UWI, they told me I got through. So getting to be an intern, the Caribbean's intern in Washington, D.C., that kind of encouraged me that even though I would not have gotten a job in diplomat or foreign affairs area in Jamaica, the world saw my potential. Washington, D.C. and the IDB and NGOs saw my potential. So that kind of encouraged me that, hey, maybe that was the direction you were meant to be in. But when I finished my degree, I had like an 80% scholarship to go to Nottingham to do
Okay.
a degree, a master's in social and global justice, but I couldn't afford the rest of the money. I had to show the other 20%. I didn't have it, so I didn't get to go. So I went back to Jamaica and I started teaching Spanish. So everything that happened, I kind of went with what was available to me at that time.
Right. Well, how did the humor get into this now? Because humor is, as I said, is a great skill to have as a diplomat, and it's international, and you have language skills. You've somehow fuse that with humor, because you understand the human spirit and use that as a way of speaking across different cultures. How did the humor piece get into all of this?
The humor?
Yes.
I was always, I think, I don't want to call myself a class clown, but I feel like I was a class clown. Like in primary school, even though I did well in school, I was always the person who. So let me tell you, from a very young, even before later on in life, I knew the word for it, that the word was depression, and that was something that was hereditary for me, and that was what it was. I knew I was different in terms of I had a very intimate affair with sadness, and as a result of that, something in me told me that it's my responsibility to make sure that no one feels this sad, because I couldn't imagine anyone go feeling sad every day of their life. So I believe that there was something in me that always wanted to see people laugh. And even the class maybe was quiet in primary school, and this is the first time I'm saying it in this way. Maybe when I'm in primary school and some part of high school, when I saw the class was quiet, I might have interpreted that as sadness, or even when there was sadness, real sadness, I thought it was my responsibility to bring joy to people. So that continued into high school, and because even now when people see me, they say, "Oh, you're always like this." No, so I believe apart from that need to not want people to feel that way, I also inherited humor from both sides. I heard that my father was a very, very funny man, and then on my mother's side of the family, I pay a joke in the family. So when we link up, everybody a laugh on a roll. So I think, one, I felt the responsibility, which I'm okay with, to make people not experience the sadness that I experienced. And two, I also think it was hereditary. So it came naturally either way, right?
That's great. But part of it, practicing that in Jamaica is fine, but now you're on an international space, say Japan. How do you then use those skills and practice it in a different culture like Japan or wherever, or even DC where you were at IDB?
Yeah. So when I was at the IDB, I think with my peers from Latin America, I think because my major was in Spanish literature and languages, so I had read books that some of them didn't even read themselves. But my first books I read were in Spanish, from Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Pablo Neruda, Laura Escovel, and those authors. So I was able to use the type of humor I use with my peers in DC was more an intellectually sarcastic humor. And in Japan, the way they realized I was funny, because I remember when I got to Japan and I didn't know what they were saying, because the only thing they taught us at Jamaica was how to say, hello, introduce yourself, right? But when I got there and I heard people talking, I would come back to in the staff room before I go to my classes, and I would just repeat them and just repeat the words. And even though I wasn't able to get the words correctly, the accent and the intonation was so perfect that they thought I was saying the word. So they always laugh every time I learn a new word and come back to the classroom. The kids, Japanese kids, they would die every time I learned something. They would die every time I say it. So, and the funny thing is, that is how I learn languages. I mock people. So if I hear people in the street, I'm gonna mock them. And even Trevor Noah said that's how we learn languages too. So I was mocking the sounds I heard in the streets of Japan, and that was to my knowledge, well, not to my knowledge, helping me to learn the language, but it's also provided humor for them who say, boy, this young man come from Jamaica, oh, him know if he said this now, it's a sharp while. I use mockery, but now a nice way to bring forth my humor in Japan.
You have a sample that you can even share with us and give us both language?
Yeah. So they have this word in Japan, it's called irashaimase. Irashaimase, right? So whenever you go to a marketplace, you'll always hear irashaimase. But the thing is, just like every culture, depending on your demographic, where you're from, or your gender or sex, you might say it differently. So an older guy would say irashaimase, or a cute girl in a H&M store would say irashaimase. It's softer. But I didn't know. I thought they were saying, you saw me, I say.
Okay.
But even though I was saying, you saw me, I say, it's the same exact duration of syllables, but they knew it wasn't that. But it was funny that they thought I was attempting to say that word, and with the same intonation. So they were saying irashaimase, which means welcome to my store. Please patronize my store. But I was just saying, yes, sir, may I say? And I would walk around the entire school and say, yes, sir, may I say?
That's neat.
Yeah.
So you also said didn't a stint here. I live in Washington D.C. outside of D.C. So I'm interested in your stint also at IDB Bank. I know some folks that it's usually pretty serious, and you were an intern there. Tell us a little about that stint.
So I don't know, even though at the IDB, I remember the lady in charge of the document library. They were Jamaican. So when I got there, there are 3 Jamaican ladies there, and they mentored me so well. I don't remember how many interns there were, but out of all the interns, so the prerequisite to the IDB is 1, and I'm going to tell you how I cheated. 1, you have to be finishing the point is you should be returning to school the next September.
Right.
Technically, I had gotten accepted to Nottingham. So in my mind, even though I don't have the money, my face a boy, some miracle gotten, and getting to Nottingham. So later on, when they say that they needed proof I was going to school, I used my Nottingham acceptance letter, right? Which was, I didn't know I was going, but I showed them my letter. But when I got the prerequisites are that you have to have some decent grades, but the language part was important. So you have to speak one of the native languages, and you have to speak English, right? So those are the minimum. What I did, I spoke all of 4 official languages. I spoke English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. And even when they called me for my interview, I remember I was outside. I was in Spanish club, and they called me and on the phone, and I said, you have the wrong number. And I said, this is the IDB. I'm like, oh, sorry. I said, could you call back in like 3 minutes? I had to collect myself, right? Because I'm like, wait. I didn't remember applying because I saw it in careers, and I just applied. I didn't know that these people were going to respond to me. As a matter of fact, a guy who got through from Bahamas, he saw my name and said, Raúl, I've been seeing you in the meetings, in the email meetings. I'm like, what meeting? So what I did was that they tested me. I just started in Portuguese like a few months before that, but they called me and they asked me questions in all 4 languages because I would mind enough self for the 4 languages. So they gave me like a semi-interview in all 4 languages over the phone. And when I got to DC, I worked in the office of the Auditor General.
Right.
Fun fact, that was the year 2006 when they were converting the paper documents to online, right? And I was the first intern to learn IDB docs. I don't know if it's the same thing. And it was my knowledge of IDB docs that I helped everyone in the Office of Auditor General IDB learn how to use IDB docs. And I was really praised for that. And my work was involved whenever the auditors went to lending countries, and they bring back the information, I was responsible for writing reports in 3, not Portuguese, French,
3 other languages.
Yeah, the languages. So depending on the language they wanted to be written and translated in, I had to do it. And so that was my experience at the IDB. But I was also overwhelmed by everyone else there because I've always had this low self-esteem kind of thing. But when I got there and I said, wait, Raúl, these are the best in the world, and you're here with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that one of the biggest boosts that has ever happened to me. And I worked on the case when they were doing the one section of the Highway 2000 in Jamaica. I actually got to work on one of the cases from my own country. So it wasn't that good story, but at least I got to work with one of the cases from my story. So that was my overall. And I used to go in front of the White House, go eat lunch every day because I'm frightened.
Yes, that's down the street there.
You realize it's close to there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what led you now to go to law school in Japan?
Wow.
Explain that jump.
So when I went to Japan now, I actually, when I went to Japan, I wanted an exit strategy because I loved experiencing something different, but I realized earlier on that Japan wasn't for me. So, and I said, okay, how am I going to leave now? So I said, when I was leaving Jamaica to Japan, and things always happen to me like this. Right as soon as like the September, two things happened when I woke up that July in Tokyo. One, I woke up to the earthquake when we arrived there, and 2, I got the acceptance letter from the to law, but it wasn't the regular one. It was the sponsored one in Barbados where some of the fees would have been paid. I'm like, oh my God. By the time I reached Japan, I hear the story. So in my latter year, when I was in Toyama, I wondered how I could find a way to do it. So when I'm leaving Japan, I could go on, just to do the latter part of it. So I applied for a school, a distance program that allowed me to study in Japan, and I would do my exams at a certain university in Japan. So that's how I applied. I applied for that distance. I did my degree distance. I studied by myself. I didn't have any peers, and I went through every single module, and then I completed the law degree. In 2015, about 1 year before I left, I got my degree mailed to me.
That's fantastic. To study law in a foreign country with language and culture. To me, my hat's off to you. This is
Yes,
great.
it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Thank you so much.
it seemed like that thread of caring for other people was also part of this initiative, and you work for Amnesty International.
Yes.
What was that all about?
So in my last 2 years, I lived in Osaka. In Osaka, while completing my last year, I did get an internship at the Takedi. Oh my God. I forgot it's my mentor. Okay. It's a law firm, right?
Yeah.
He's a international lawyer, and he does common law and also practice law in Japan. I did my internship there, and I did the same thing: contract, Japanese, English, looking at make sure that the Japanese law align with the British, law regarding on the area or common law. And then I've always been a person that human rights is at the center of who I am. I believe in the equality of all people, and I was just looking for an opportunity to volunteer. And before I moved to Osaka, I realized that there was a program. There's a group, 95, a group of volunteers in Osaka. So it's a travel from a deep rural part of a place called Okayama on the bullet train. Every Sunday, once in a while, I travel there to have the meeting, and then when I moved to Osaka, I continued to have the meeting. So we'd meet there, and we would do Right for Actions, where we decide. Sometimes there are 3 cases. We work on those cases and write letters to the embassies and consulates in Osaka and Tokyo, asking them to pressure the Chinese government or in the Andean region to work on certain cases. For example, in China and Myanmar, we had a few political prisoners. So I did it because, one, I had a law degree. I was a humanitarian, and I really wanted to do something about what was happening. So I worked with the Osaka Group 95 while I was there.
That's so fantastic. But then you return to Jamaica, and now you have this, platform, what you're doing. Take us to how you make that transition back and decide to do this in this phase of your life, to do what you're doing.
No, I'm living in Florida now.
Okay.
And because my family is here, so that's
right.
how I got back here. When I got here, I did work for a company, waste management. Yes. And I was a dispatcher, like a bilingual dispatcher.
Right.
But I realized that a 9 to 5 wasn't necessarily for me, because I believe that all my creative juices were being, stifled per se.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did, however, I went back again and I got certification. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a qualified personal trainer.
Okay.
So I started working at the gym while I'm creating my videos. Good. So I've found some way to do the things that I love. I love nature. I love the gym. I love comedy. So I started working on myself to become a personal trainer and become a Zumba teacher at the gym, but also do my soca dancehall classes, my private classes on the weekend. And but the more I look back at my journey and the places I've been, those all the stories I had could not be kept in. So
right.
I wanted to find a way to tell people about my story in a comical way. So a lot of the things I do on social media are things that I've experienced before, or situations I understood so much. So when I came back, I realized that I wanted to do something in fitness and something in vlogging. So I've combined them to do that. And these are just the major categories. Below these categories, there are subcategories of things that I do. Yeah.
This is wonderful. You're certainly a renaissance man. I want you to look ahead. Somebody as creative as you is always looking ahead, as people can see. there's all been a progression and a change in your, what you're practicing. Look into your crystal ball. What do you see Raúl Blaze doing in the near future?
I see me starting with my plays. I see I have a lot of plays written, waiting for the opportunity to get the right people to audition for them. So I see first moving, doing my plays, taking them to the demographic with the highest number of Caribbean people out, New York, Florida, Toronto, London, and after a while, I see myself bringing some of these to the big screen. Yeah, so I see myself having an entire production company where I write the script and I audition the actors and I present Jamaica and the Caribbean in the multiplicity that it deserves, because most of the time you see the Caribbean and Jamaica on media, it's derivative,
Right.
It's one dimensional, and we are maybe the most multifaceted, multidimensional people in the world. So I want to bring Caribbean stories to the world and show the greatness and depth of our culture and what it has to offer.
I know you'll have lots of cheerleaders here for sure. Thank you for that vision and for I know you'll get there given what your past has produced. So as we close this most fascinating interview, Raúl, any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I want people to know that. So in the world we live in, there's so much. There's so many things. There's so many things that people are sad about, and there's so many things to be sad about. I want everyone to be the reason why someone smiles, or be the reason why someone is encouraged.
That's short, sweet, but powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So to learn more about Raúl Blaze, I encourage everyone to go on Instagram and learn about him. I think you'll really enjoy that. You can also visit his website. Raúl is an author, and so definitely support his work. And you can go to RBLAZEE enterprise.com to learn about Jamaican Diaspora. Visit JamaicanDiaspora.com. To learn about Chris Daley, visit ChrisDaley360. Raúl, we definitely enjoy spending time with you, reading your book, watching your Instagram, and just having a really good time encountering you. Bye now.
Bye. Take care.